And we're back. You're listening to the Community Radio Show on WLEE News Talk 990. Numbers to call, 788-0990 or 1-877-953-3990. In the studio today, we have Ali Faruk, Minister Ali Faruk. I mean, make sure I give you the proper...
He's a Haji now. He's a Haji now.
Exactly.
He's in the pilgrimage. Your status has been elevated.
As
Haji Ali.
Hajj Minister.
So now we went into the commercial break with a question about how the transit was, how your experience was with the transit system while you were on Hajj and overseas. So if you could give us a little bit, more about that. I've heard some crazy stories about it, so it's not like here.
Oh my goodness. So okay, so the answer to the sister's question, I did not ride the trains. I saw them, and we all saw them, and when we saw them, we kept asking, what about the trains? How do you ride the train? How do you get on the train?
This is a train from Jeddah to Mecca, right?
I don't know. I don't know where it goes. I saw them. I saw them in Mecca. I saw them in, you see them, and they're like wrapping around the mountains and stuff.
Wow.
And so we kept asking our group leaders about the train and what is it taken to get into the train. And our group did not have access to the train. Mm-hmm. And I don't know is that something you have to pay extra for? Or I heard all kinds of crazy rumors. I heard rumors that it was only for the Arab royalty. I heard rumors that it was only for Saudis. I heard rumors that it cost $1 trillion. And it's still being built. It is still being built. Right. And the reason the train is such a big deal is that, again, you're talking 4 or 5 million people that need to get to several different places that are only kilometers apart. At most, they're 12 kilometers apart. Right. And just right now, the way it's done is people walk or they take a bus or a taxi. And honestly, the Saudis do a great job on a lot of things when it comes to Hajj. But the transit is not one of them. Mm-hmm.
Because you're also fighting the traffic with the locals that actually live there.
The locals that live there. And most of the locals leave. There is a culture that you got to get out.
You don't want to
because you don't want to see it. There's so much trash. And this is another thing that makes you sad is that you see how we as human beings abuse our surroundings. Mm-hmm. The trash is crazy. But coming back to the transit, so if you are, you're camped out in the desert and you have to go to Mecca to pray at the sacred mosque, the way you do it is you join the mob near the main street and you fight to get on a bus or a taxi or a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy. And it would be so much more efficient if there was a line and, you just got people on there and they went. But literally they burn up so much time fighting with people and arguing and trying to box others out, and you see half full buses that leave. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just there's no order. Yeah, I was saying this real story. Going back to the women, it's no joke, man. In that crowd, some of the women are just like I'm
talking about women,
middle linebackers, man. They're just dropping the shoulder.
When I would go to the sacred mosque and do the walking around the Kaaba, the craziest thing is that the people who are the most vicious are the old women. I don't have them anymore, but I had a lot of injuries around the ribs where the little women all of a sudden, you've got, I don't know how many people can fit in the sacred mosque. Got to be a couple 100,000.
That's right.
But you're packed. There is no space. And I can't even call it walking around the Kaaba. I just call it like being pushed around the Kaaba.
Right, you're like in a sea of people, and the sea is
like the worst mosh pit you've ever imagined in your life. And it's just constantly rotating. In the Saudi heat.
Right.
Like it's crazy. And yet you think nobody can get through this. Nobody can move independently in this crowd. And all of a sudden, these little old ladies are jabbing and punching their way through. And it's like, it's traumatic. And so that's my experience with them.
Did you and you can pick up on the different ethnic makeups of people. Yeah. You do not you know when the African brothers are coming, right?
Oh goodness,
when that caravan comes, right? Because
and it's fascinating. You see, like I was really impressed by the groups from Malaysia and Indonesia. Yes, they have uniforms and they have brightly lit hats and stuff and brightly lit scarves and they have signs and flags
and it's all orderly.
They're
and
incredibly efficient and they're a caravan. They're like those of us who are Americans. We split off into groups of 3 or 4 or 2 and are like, all right, you guys split together. There's no way you can keep a group of 10 together. But the Malaysians did it. They had a train of 10 people and they're all locked arms. And they're all wearing the same thing, so they can never lose each other. And they're getting through there efficiently. It's honestly, it's beautiful.
It is.
It's a beautiful thing
to see it. So, you're listening to the Community Radio Show on WLEE News Talk 990. We're coming down to about 10 minutes to go. It's a fast show, man. This is the fastest
show. I did have a list of lessons that I learned from Hajj.
Yeah, let me. We're gonna go to play clip 5, and I wanted to ask you. We originally asked you about what your expectation was when you saw the Kaaba for the first time. So let's go ahead and cut to 5.
Well, to be honest, I'm actually afraid of what it'll be like. Inshallah, I hope it's inspiring and moving. But I guess with anything spiritual, you have a little bit of anxiety about, you hope that it's everything you wish it will be. You hope that you're moved and that your heart grows, and that, I guess what I'm afraid of is, is that really going to happen? And so when I think about that gives me a little bit of anxiety. Inshallah, I hope that my heart is moved and that I can feel something. So yeah, I think, and again, talking about preparing for Hajj, one of the things you do when you prepare for Hajj is that you ask people for forgiveness and you try to correct your faults and pay your debts and things like that. And all that stuff, I think, helps prepare you for that moment when you see the Kaaba, that moment when you get there and you're in Allah's house. You're at the place where it all started. You're at the place where the Prophet started preaching and things like that. So over the past few weeks, what I've been doing is sending out emails, making phone calls, talking to friends that I'd lost touch with. And one, asking them for forgiveness, but two, also asking, saying, I would love to pray for you. I'd love to make dua for you and your family. Tell me what it is that I can make dua for. And that's an incredibly intimate conversation. And you really get to know people, and you really get to love people. You really get to revisit why you're friends with these people. And that's been an amazing journey in and of itself. Just getting emails and phone calls from these friends that I'd lost touch with, and them sending me, their very earnest du'as. And that's a blessing. And so I think going through that has really prepared me to actually finally be in Mecca. And I think if you don't do that, if you don't prepare in that way, if you kind of rush that process, then that moment when you finally see the Kaaba and you start making dua, then that it won't be as powerful.
Okay.
All right. So, what was it like when you?
Wow. Well, it's hard to put into words, but I'll say that it happened in stages. So the Kaaba is that black box. That's called the Kaaba, and for Muslims it's incredibly holy because that is the house that Abraham and Ishmael built, the first house to the one God. And so it's older than Islam, older than Muslims. It's the first house of worship, and that's incredibly, just to be in the presence of that, it's like, there's no description for it. So, but first, around that black box is the sacred mosque, which is incredibly beautiful. It's like solid marble.
Right.
And that's the first thing I saw, because you can't see the Kaaba from far away. It's surrounded by the mosque. So the first thing I saw, we get to our hotel and I turn around and there's the sacred mosque, one of the big entrances, and I just
everything you've seen in pictures so far.
Exactly, right? Everything you've seen in
up.
pictures my entire life. I've grown up seeing this thing in pictures and on prayer rugs, and there it is suddenly, and it's so much bigger than you can imagine. It always looks big, but suddenly you're there and you're like, oh my goodness. And the other thing is, you're struck by how there are hotels like right up to it. Then you get inside the sacred mosque, and it's stunning. It is absolutely beautiful. And then you see the Kaaba, and it's like the sacred mosque isn't there. It's like that beauty, you don't care about it, because there's this just really simple brick building surrounded by people, and you could stare at it for hours. And I stopped, and I don't remember what I thought. I just remember what happened to me physically, where I stopped, and I just stopped. And you can't stop in the sacred mosque. There's so many people coming in and out, but everything just stopped. I stopped and I stared at it and I immediately started praying, and it felt so right. It felt like there's nothing else you need to do. And all those other things, like the things I worried about like the food and the hotel, and is there going to be Wi-Fi, and can I use my phone, and how am I going to call my family? It just, it goes away. And it's beautiful, and people would sit and stare at the Kaaba for hours, and I did too. And you can do it. It's so simple and small. It's like all these things that we build around ourselves. And around the Kaaba, it's almost offensive. There are these massive hotels. There's this one hotel that's like the second tallest tower in the world. And it just towers over the Kaaba. And it's like, this is the ostentation we create as human beings. And yet here is a symbol to God, to serve
so
God.
Simple.
And it's so simple. And it's more beautiful than all that other gaudy stuff. And you can just sit there and watch people go around it for hours and hours and hours. Right. It's a beautiful thing.
So what lessons did you...
Yeah, let me wrap up real quick and just say, what are the big lessons I learned? So the first lesson I learned is, so this dynamic between everyone on your own versus we're all in this together. This is always a big debate that you hear everywhere in politics and life. I really learned that we're all in this together. Nobody makes it through Hajj by themselves, no matter how strong or how wealthy you are. I relied on the oldest, weakest people so many times to help me when I was lost or to help me get some medicine. It's really inspiring and very humbling. You realize that. Second, you're going to get through, no matter how tough life is, you get through it just by getting through it. Meaning there's no tactic that'll get you through it. There's no amount of money that'll necessarily get you through it. Just, getting down, being patient, and being persistent, you'll get through it. You'll get through anything. And people sometimes freak out about things, but it's like, just chill, and it all works out in the end. That's the second big lesson I learned. Third is that walking around the Kaaba is like a metaphor for life, because there's so many people doing it, but again, you learn that it's gonna be done when it's done. And the best thing you can do is just mind your own business, keep together with your family and your friends, whoever's there with you, and don't mess with people. And it's like the greatest life lesson I ever learned. Some people get pissed off because somebody pushes them or shoves them and they get into a fight right there. And it's like, what a waste of time, man. You don't get anywhere faster. If anything, it slows you down. Right. What a distraction. So just, keep your elbows down, protect your ribs, hold on to the people with you, and just get through it. Don't mess with people. Right. That's the best life advice I can give to anybody. Just, mind your own business, keep together with your family, and don't mess with people.
All right. Thanks for listening. We're talking to Ali Faruk, who just returned from Hajj. I really want to thank you for coming into the studio. This was a
great interview.
Well, thank you guys so much.
I want to encourage everyone to go to the YouTube channel that we have set up to watch the after show. I'm sure we'll get some interesting pieces of information. But this will be a good segue to say that we're down to show to show, week to week.
We've been week to week. We need support. That's just what it comes down to. Like anything else, we're going to keep asking. Hopefully, people see this as a legitimate source of information for the Islamic religion, where we stand on issues and things like that. So and given a different perspective than what you're generally going to get across most media sources. So hopefully, we can get support from any and everywhere. That's still what we're looking for. And of course, you can donate directly if you go to tinyurl.com/ourvoicenow. That'll bring you directly to our PayPal link. And anything donated would be greatly appreciated. So we're going to wrap up just for next week. Next week, we know that the Gaza issue has been pretty major in the news. And of course, as Muslims, it would kind of be an injustice if we didn't really talk about at least some of the points of that issue and that conflict. Overall, it's a very unfortunate situation and story that's really been brewing for well over 50 years, 60 years at this point. So we're going to try to touch on that, get some quote-unquote experts on next week, maybe some people that have been there firsthand, and also talk about some factual information, some numbers, and maybe give a better perspective. Because sometimes what you get in the media is going to be one-sided. So
we unfortunately we live in a world of sound bites, and our problems are more complex than 30-second sound bites.
Exactly.
Which goes back to this is whether it's the Gaza situation or what we're trying to do here at the community radio show. Right. It's just we really need try to bring people on that can provide you with an in-depth knowledge of what is going on. That's stuff that you're not going to see on radio, television. So
and sometimes sometimes you'll agree with us, sometimes you won't, but we still want to have that open dialogue, that open conversation.
Thanks to our callers and people streaming online.
Definitely Julia today, right? Yeah. And Alim.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. You're listening to the Community Radio Show on WLEE News Talk 990.
Same channel, same time next week, 10 a.m. to 11. And hope you guys be safe out there.
Check us out on Facebook.
And Twitter.
And YouTube. We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. Be safe. Once again, Community Radio Show. We'll see you next week.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Turkey.
Gobble, gobble.